Welcome back to the Ripewave Audio community. My name is John, and for this video we continue our Ripewave Audio series on home theater amplifiers in 2022, and this one is for Arcam and JBL Synthesis Amplifiers that are either Class AB or Class G. We will handle other JBL Synthesis Class D amplifiers at a later date. This video continues our series, which started with Monolith by Monoprice, went on to Emotiva, ToneWinner, IOTAVX, Outlaw Audio, ATI Amplifier Technologies, OSD, NAD, Marantz, Yamaha, Onkyo and Integra, Rotel, and this one being the 13th in the series from Arcam and JBL Synthesis. And in this video we will cover the PA410, PA240, and the PA720 from Arcam, as well as similar products from JBL Synthesis, the SDA-2200 and the SDA-7120. And these range from about $1,200 all the way up to $4,400. And we will begin this video with the Arcam PA410. Now this $1,199 priced 4-channel amplifier is a Class AB amplifier. It's the only Class AB amplifier in this grouping and was released in 2019, delivers 50 watts per channel into all 4 channels at 8 ohms, and this is doing it with unbalanced connections. So this is the only one in this grouping that is only got unbalanced connectors. And you can see this very simple minimalist design from Arcam. There's no VU meters on here. A simple power button, mute, standby are on the front. Around the back we see a removable power cord, and like all of the series, they're giving you outputs as well if you want to daisy chain the signal on to another amplifier with the same channel information. As we do not have an interior picture of the 410, we're going to move right on to the PA240. Now this is a 2-channel amplifier, and this is much taller than the 410, and it was also released in 2019 and sells for $2,750. Now this one introduces balanced connections as well as the unbalanced, and gives you 2 channels at 225 watts, which are bridgeable. The one interior shot we have of the PA240 is something I believe we captured from somebody selling one of these on the used market. But you can see the toroidal power supply that is used inside these Arcam amplifiers. 4 large capacitors in there, and it looks like a fairly clean, neat design inside of this unit. Now, as we said, this is Class G, and that involves, it's similar to Class AB with a high-powered and a low-powered rail. We now move over to our first JBL synthesis model, the SDA-2200, which is very similar to the Arcam PA240. It sells for a little more at $3,500, and this is due largely for the Dante networking support that is built into the SDA-2200, which you do not get in the Arcam models. Now, not a lot of processors out there in the market do support Dante in the home theater market. We see this predominantly from JBL Synthesis as well as Storm Audio having that support. But it is a favorite of those that come from the professional audio industry, and a welcome sight to that audience. And you can see here that the Dante networking module is just above what you'd normally have as just a flat backplane in the Arcam equivalent. So this is 225 into those 2 channels. Looking inside the SDA-2200, now this is an official shot from JBL Synthesis, and you can clearly see where the Dante board is with that red circuit board. Now, like the other model from Arcam, it does have a toroidal power supply. The boards otherwise look pretty much the same, along with the layout. The JBL Synthesis model was introduced slightly after its Arcam equivalent in 2020. Now back to Arcam with the PA740 selling at $3,300. This 7-channel model is also Class G, delivering 100 watts per channel into those 7 channels, and was released in 2019. Gracing the similar design in the front and the back, the PA740 fits in well with the series. Also similar to other Arcam models is that they have the output for each channel for pass-through. This model supports both balanced and unbalanced connections. As we do not have an interior photo of this Arcam model, we're going to move on to the JBL Synthesis equivalent, the SDA-7120, which sells for $4,400. Also a 7-channel amplifier, was introduced a little later in 2020. This amplifier also provides 100 watts per channel Class G, as with the PA740. And we can see here on the back of the 7120 that the additional board is in there for the Dante networking support. And looking inside the SDA-720, we see the same Dante red circuit board as we did in the SDA-2200. Now looking at these side by side, we can see that the Arcam all have a similar look and feel in the front panel, and JBL Synthesis adopt its own design language. But generally speaking, the PA240 and the SDA-2200 are the same size chassis, just with a different appearance on the front, and same goes with the PA720 and the SDA-7120. The PA410 is the slimmest of all the units. And turning these to the back, we can see that the PA410 is also the only unit lacking balanced inputs. We can see clearly the difference between the Arcam and the JBL Synthesis models. The prominent difference between the two is the color of the back. Arcam is black and JBL Synthesis is a gray tone. Functional difference, of course, is the Dante board, which you'll find on JBL Synthesis only and not on the Arcam products. Looking inside, we can see that for those that we have the interior shots, that these are all laid out very similarly. They all have that same toroidal power supply, the same heat sink that's in there. The boards seem to be laid out in a similar fashion, and we can imagine that the main change between the 2-channel models and the 7-channel models is the number of channels. The power supply seems to be the same, and this could justify why we go from 225 watts for the 2-channel models to 100 watts per channel for the 7-channel model. So you're dividing that power supply now over 7 channels versus 2. Now on to look at the specifications. The Arcam and JBL Synthesis products all have the same input impedance of 10 kiloohms. They all have input and output triggers for nice remote turn on from a single component within your system. The input sensitivity does vary. The PA410 is at 0.56 volts and is among the lowest we see of any model out there that we've reviewed to date. PA240 has an input sensitivity of 1.15 volts unbalanced, 2.3 volts balanced. This is the same for the SDA-220 from JBL Synthesis. The Arcam PA720 has an input sensitivity of 0.8 volts unbalanced, 1.6 volts balanced, and of course is the same for the JBL SDA-7120. The PA410 is the most economical, coming in at $300 per channel. Next up is the PA720. You get economy of scales with the 7-channel model, and this comes in at $471. Its equivalent JBL, the SDA-7120, comes in a little higher at $629 per channel, and this has to go with the premium that the JBL Synthesis brand warrants, as well as the fact that you have the Dante input board on there. The PA240 and SDA-220 are the most expensive per channel, $1,375 and $1,750 respectively. So certainly a premium for all the JBL Synthesis brands. Now the JBL Arcam standard for gain is 31 decibels, but the PA410 allows you to dial that back to 25 dBs if your input receiver or AV processor requires it. All these models can handle a load impedance between 4 and 16 ohm, and they all have unbalanced line outputs. Moving on to the specifications for the output, at 8 ohm loads, the PA410 is the most modest at 50 watts and 70 watts at 4 ohm load. The PA720 and SDA-7120 are both 100 watts per channel into 8 ohms and 140 watts into 4 ohm loads. The PA240 and SDA-220 come in with the most output, 225 watts into 8 ohms, 380 watts into 4 ohm loads. Now JBL and Arcam measure all these in the same way, at a single frequency band of 1 kilohertz, with a total harmonic distortion of 0.2%. The signal-to-noise ratio is between 110 and 112 decibels for these models. Now you can take the PA240 or the SDA-220 and bridge those two inputs into a single mono output for 8 ohm load handling of 790 watts. Again, this is done at 1 kilohertz, 0.2%, and delivers this at 112 decibels. Regarding the dimensions, the PA410 is the slimmest at 12.5 inches, 325 millimeters. The other units are all 16.7 inches high, 425 millimeters. Every product is 17 inches wide, 433 millimeters. The depth on the Arcam 410 is the shallowest at 4.1 inches, 105 millimeters, and the depth for the other models is 7 inches, 177 millimeters. The PA410 is also the lightest at 22.1 pounds, 10 kilograms, and the others are around 40 pounds, 18 kilograms. They all have IEC power cords. They all support 120 or 240 volts depending how you set the switch on the back of the unit. So you don't have to think about which model you're buying from the factory. And they all have toroidal power supplies. Power consumption ranges from 700 watts up to 1500 watts and has a standby power of 0.5 watts. They do not provide specifications for capacitance, crosstalk, damping, but none of them have fans. So that wraps it up for Arcam and JBL Synthesis. And as I said at the beginning of this, we will be covering other JBL Synthesis models that are Class D in operation, and they're a little bit unique, so that will be an interesting one to cover. But as far as these models, what do you think? Do you like one brand over the other? Do you need the Dante capability that JBL Synthesis introduced? If so, please provide those comments to the RightWave Audio community. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Also consider becoming a Patreon member at www.patreon.com/RightWave. And once you become a member, you'll be able to access the RightWave Audio database, which includes all the data from this video, as well as all the others from the series, including our AV receiver and AV processor data. Furthermore, you will have access to all the PowerPoint presentations that we've relaunched since we started the Patreon channel. So I hope that some of you can join us on Patreon. And for all the others, your contributions in the community chat is also appreciated. Regardless of how you want to participate, be sure to hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when the next video is posted. Until then, keep evolving your audio experience.